Mesechta Avoda Zara, Daf Samach Tes Amud Aleph. We're starting Samach Tes Amud Beis from the last two words on Samach Tes Amud Beis. Yesterday we learned that David said the halacha is nois and tam lebgam is mutter, but when there was a mouse that fell into sheicha into beer, so he says I don't know what the reason is, meaning of Rav, that Rav said that the whole sheicha became aser. Is it because he holds nois and tam lebgam is aser? He's from the Yechidim that hold nois and tam lebgam is aser, or and the halacha is not like him, or he holds nois and tam lebgam is mutter. But here the achbara is mishabeach. It makes it better, the taste of the shichra, like we said, it's elal shulchan. And then we had a third reason that nois and tam lebgam normally is going to be mutter. But here, by Achbara, by Shratzim, we have a special chidush, because it's a davar mouse. So it's a davar mouse, so either the Torah have to give a special chidush to stay away from it. Obviously, to tell you dafka here, Gzeis HaKosnas and Tam Gam is going to be awesome, even though normally it's mutter. But it seems like the Mashar is going to say, in this Ibaylahu, that we're following the middle one, that it's Noisim Tam L'Shvach. And since it's nois and tam l'shach, the achra, the mouse that fell into the sheicha, gives a better taste to the sheicha. So therefore, it's iser that's being mashviach the sheicha, which is iser. So therefore, it's asa. The Bnei Yeshiva had a shaila. How about nafal legoy chala? How about the achra fell into chometz? Vinegar is a very powerful taste. What's going to be the din? So here you can't say for 100% it's nois and tam l'shvach, because you don't even feel the shvach in the chometz, because the chometz is such an overpowering taste. Amalei Rav Hillel with a yud. Amalei Rav Hillel with Havashi. Hillel said to Havashi, "I will over the Beit Rav Kahana."
What do you think?
On the Samach Tes Amud Aleph, the top line. So the first case was Nafal Geichal, that it fell in, the apple fell into chometz. So the shaila was, since the chometz is such a powerful taste that the achora doesn't add to it. So that's the shaila. Or we say no. So Amalei Rav Hillel again, Rav Hillel with a yud said to Ravashi, Avoda by Rav Kahana. There was this same story that happened by Rav Kahana, that achla fell into the vinegar. We also Rav Kahana, and Rav Kahana asked the chometz. So obviously, Rav Kahana held that the taste of the achbar, is nikar, does add, and you do feel it. Amalei Ravashi said to Rav Hillel, this that Rav Kahana asked the chometz is no raya, is no raya here. This that Rav Ashi said to Rav Hillel, again, this that Rav Ashi said to Rav Hillel, that Rav Kahana was asked the chometz, is not because the achbar adds taste to the chometz, nothing to do with that. Ahu imartute imartat. He says that case was a case that the achbar's physical, that there was a mamashis pieces of the achbar in the chometz, which passes even kadosha, even like the size of a lentil. If you swallow that, you're eating iser. So in such a case, we're afraid maybe he will swallow one of these pieces from the sheretz together with the chometz, and that's why he asked it. Not because he gave tam, without tam itself, if there wasn't a davar mamashis mixed in the chometz, if it would have been only mitzvah the tam, I would have said it's mutter, because it doesn't add taste. The chometz is a powerful taste. And the only reason why it was also because there was mamashis, the pieces of the achbar in the chometz. That was the case of Rav Kahana. So Ravina Savali Sha'uri, Ravina thought to be Meshai the chometz b'mei v'chad. There has to be 1 against 100. That means in order to be mevatel the tam of the taste of the achbar, you have to have in the chometz 100 times the shear of the achbar. Omar loigara, and he said it shouldn't be any worse or any more severe mitruma than truma. What? Because we know truma becomes batel b'meya. The time that we learned in the Mishnah, truma oila here means batel. Truma becomes his batel by 1 out of 100. Amalei Rav Tachlifa by Gizler Avina. V'aftachlifa ba'giza etc. Avina. Dilma betavlin, ki tavlin shel truma b'gedeira dami. Maybe it's like spices. You can compare the achbar is also, now he's learning faket. Achbar is a very powerful taste also. And maybe we can compare the achbar to spice. Like a spice of truma that fell into a tafshel shabigdeira, it's never bottled. The loy bottled tamaya, where the taste doesn't go away. So we should say here also it shouldn't be bottled. So says the Gemara. So the Gemara brings different opinions. So maybe we should be machmir. That's his question, and it shouldn't be bottled because of the achbar's powerful taste. So the Gemara Rav Achai, Shia Bechala, Rav Achai made the shear by chaymetz that the achbar fell into the chaymetz bechamshin 50. That's why 50, because the chaymetz is so powerful, right? So if it's 50 times as much, that's enough. It's going to be mevatel that taste of the achbar. He says it has to be 60 times as much. The hilchasa and the halacha is idi that so whether the achbar fell into the chaymetz or whether the achbar fell into sheikha is not as powerful as chaymetz. Chaymetz is a more powerful taste, but he says we'll always say is bishish is 60 times as much. So it is by all these sunim l'teira. But the b'shishim, yeah, that's the one. Sagt die Mishnah, a new Mishnah.
What do we conclude? What's the conclusion?
What's the conclusion? That it's batal b'shishim, and it's noisem tam l'shvach. It's noisem tam l'shvach till the 60 times as much. The achla gives tam l'shvach.
Have to throw out either way.
Physically, yeah. If there's pieces of the achla, then it's shtavas red. We're talking about the taste. You have to have. It has to be batal b'shishim, and if not, it's usher. Okay. In the Mishnah, he says that if there was a goy that was transporting together with a yid the jugs of wine from one place to another, and the yid was following and watching over the jugs of wine.
What, there was kosher wine?
Yeah, of course. But the yid he left his jugs and he left the goy with it alone for a little time. So it says, if the wine was in the Chesed HaMishtameh, meaning that the Yid didn't notify him that he's going away for a long time. He said, I'm going out for a minute. So the guy is always afraid to touch it. He doesn't want to violate and get punished.
Why does the guy want to ruin the wine?
No, if he wants to have wine, a drink of wine, whatever, and he's going to start using it for once he drinks it. You have to worry about Yayin Nesach.
Why was he not with the Yid?
He needed help. He was working for him. So now he left the worker there for a minute. He told him, I'm going out. He didn't tell him for how long. So the guy always has to be afraid that the Yid will always come in. So therefore it's mutter. You don't have to worry that the guy made it asa. But if the Yid notified the guy shehu maflik that he's going on a far journey, so then we got to worry. Kedei, if he went away at such a time that kedei sheyishtain, in the time that it takes the guy to punch a hole in the cover of the barrel, veyishtain, and then to cover up his crime, he plugs the hole. That's the yishtain. Veyigav, now he has to wait till the plaster dries because they're different colors. So you have to give him all that time, and if all that time passed, then you have to say it's possible. But if it's within the time, it's not going to be possible. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says no. He says even longer. It's not to punch a hole in the cover of the barrel, to take off the whole cover. He smashes the cover. He has no time. Then the yoguf, he puts a new cover, which is the easiest thing. He gets a new cover. When it dries up, so that takes a longer time. So that's what Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds. So the first case, what do we talk about? Because we have two cases very similar. The first case is the Yid and the guy were transporting jugs of wine from one place to another. Second case, if a yid left the wine in the wagon or in the boat or in the ship with the guy alone, v'halach loy, meaning the yid went the kapandria. He went for a little journey. He was going out for a little shortcut, and he's coming back. But instead of going in and out, he went into the city, and he went there and he bathed and he took his time. Says he wanted smuta. Why? Because the guy didn't know if he's coming back or not. So he always was under fear that he's going to come back in any minute. But if the yid notify him shehu maflik, that he's going away for a little while, he's going away. So if he went away kidei yistim, again the same thing, that he should be able to punch a hole. But yistim, and he should plug the hole. The yigoif, and it should dry up so it should look like the same color. So then it's gonna be aser. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, he says even longer. Kidei sheyiftach esachavos, in the time that it takes for him to open the whole cover, we get rid of the cover. The yigoif, and replace the cover with a new cover. V'tigev, and it will dry up. So say,
why do you need both?
assume that's two cases.
There's two stories.
That's what the Gemara is going to ask. Here's the third story, very similar with the same machlekes. So the second story was that he left the wine in a wagon or in a boat. Now the new case, the third case, he let the guy in the store of a yid, even though the yid is going in and out, mutter. Even though the yid went out, but it's mutter. We don't have to worry the guy violated the wine because the guy is always afraid. But the idea, let's stick to wine here. We'll get to that later. It's a whole different story. If he notified him that he's going away for a little while, and he went away, he went away for the time that it takes to punch a hole in the cover and to plug it and to dry, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel even longer, so that he opens the barrel, the yaguf, and he replaces the cover with sigav and it dries up. That's the third case. There were the fourth case. So the third case was a store. Fourth case, you saw that a guy was eating at the same table as the yid, and he left the kelim of wine on the table, the login al hadulbiki, and they used to have like a little bar, or it was in the pantry, other wines. Says the Gemara, and he left the yid left it there, and he went out. Whatever's on the table is us because the guy probably just touched it. But what's in the pantry or in the bar, mutter, that's mutter, because the guy wouldn't go ahead and he was afraid to touch it. That he had no reshus for. But if the yid tells him, hey, make yourself comfortable, hey, you could dilute the wine with water, and drink. So then he made him so comfortable, so he feels comfortable. He's like a member of the house. So he goes into the pantry, he picks his wine. So there, you're going to say, even those that are on the bar, the wines that are on the bar or the side table, that's going to also be aser. Chavius hapsuches asures. Those chavis that are open. So he says, let's say he goes into his bedroom or even that by that side table. If they're open barrels, then it's aser. But if it's closed, we're not sure that he's going to open them. So how long? How long did he have to be out that we should say that it should be aser? Kidei sheyiftach v'yogu v'sigoy. In the time that it takes to open up the barrel, replace the cover, and it dries up.
This is another case?
This is another case. They're sitting on the same table. But here, the Gemara is going to say, it's proven that the Allah is like Rabbi Gamliel. We didn't bring the other opinion, the time that it takes to punch a hole and to plug the hole. Here it says the time that it takes, sheyiftach, that he should get rid of the cover, v'yaguf, and replace the cover, v'yigoiv, and dry up. In fact, in what case was the guy in Mutter that you should say it's becheskes hamishtamer? How long? You're saying it's becheskes hamishtamer. You're right. He goes out for a little while, but how long? Let's say he stayed out. He went out for a little while. How long? Or he says he's going out. He tells the guy, "I'm going out." For how? What's the shear? How far does he have to be going? What's the shear of the distance that he's talking about? Says the Gemara Kidatanya, like we learned in the Braisa, he had the riders and the workers who are maratzim yidin to unin taharis, that they were carrying taharis from one food from a taradika food from one place to another. I feel a hiflik mimanu yesme meal, even if he went the distance more than a meal, taharis of taharis, the food is tahar because it's becheskas that it's being guarded. If he told them, you guys go ahead first. I'm going to come later, like Yaakov told him, you go ahead of me, I'll come later. So he told Lavan. I'm sorry, he told Esau, you go ahead of me and I'll come later. So he says, so he says, from the moment that he cannot see the workers, or the workers cannot see him, then whatever they were carrying that was tar became tamei. In fact, you better maishna reisha maishna seifa. What's the difference between the reisha and the seifa? If they're tamei dika people, we're not talking about they're touching barrels and not touching the wine. We're talking about food, and the food that was tar. So if they're touching tar dika food, what difference does it make? If he told them to go ahead, and there you say it's tamei, or if he didn't tell them anything, and he was going with them, that it's going to be tahor. The pearl mamish, they were carrying it, and they're tamei, so they were tamei the food. So how could you make a chilik?
In other words, it was open food?
It was open food, so what are we talking? How can you say there's a difference if he told them to go ahead, or if he didn't tell them to go ahead? Either case, they were metamei it. That's how Tesis explains it. Yitzchak said, Reisha b'kigoyin metarech hamarav v'poyalav lekach. He says there's a precondition, you guys, you workers, you drive and you workers, you have to go to mikveh before you start working for me. He makes them go to mikveh, they're tar, so when they're carrying the food is tar. They weren't metameh. It was Yidden. I said it was Amaratzim. That's what that was the case. So, but they went to mikveh, so we don't have to worry. What they were carrying is tummy. Why? When he said, when you go ahead, it becomes tummy. For other people, because they were Amaratzim, they didn't care if other people who were tummy would touch it. But if the balabas was there, they would be afraid to allow other people to touch it. The Reish is talking about there was a precondition to the workers and to the rider that they have to go to mikveh first. In fact, the Sefer also is talking about that they went to mikveh. So why in the Sefer does it become tahor? And the Gemara, Ein Amaretz Makbid al Magach Havedei. Amaretz is not careful if his friend who was tummy will touch it. In fact, the Gemara in the Reish we should worry also. They're not makbid and they're going to make it tamei. So Gemara answered, Bevolahem, in the case that the owner could come at any bederach hakalasin, he can come suddenly from a different direction, and therefore they were afraid at any time the balabas could come, so they didn't want to, so they wouldn't allow anybody to touch it. In fact, if he's able to come at any time suddenly, let's worry about the safe also. Why do you say it becomes tummy? In the safe, when he tells them to go ahead, the balabas can come at any time and catch them off guard. And since he told his workers, you go ahead of me and I'll come later. So they were saying that's what's going to happen. So therefore, that he's not going to come. Therefore, they're going to allow other people are not tired to touch it. We learned in the Mishnah, if he leaves the goy in the store, that's one case. That was another case. He left the wine in the wagon or in the boat. So now the Gemara is asking, what do I need all these three cases? They help the transport, the store, with the boat. Very good. Baruch Shekibanta. But it's a mamish. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Says the Gemara Utzich, I need all the cases. Because the itana, if you're going to talk about transporting with the guy the jugs of wine, I'll say that the yain is mutter, because the yid didn't notify him that he's going a far distance. The sava, so now the guy always is afraid. Dilma as v'chazi. He's always afraid that that the yid will see him. So that's why he won't touch the wine. But when the wine is in the wagon, and the guy is alone in the wagon with the wine, or in the boat, say, I would have said that the wine is asa, because the matlik label is svinte, because the guy controls the boat or the wagon, and he can go a little even further. And the yid, it's so far that the yid won't be able to see what he's doing. And he'll do whatever he wants. And that's why he's telling you no. If he didn't tell him how far he's going, he's always worried. And if I would only learn the case of the wine being in the wagon or in the boat, I'll say, maybe the owner of the wine will come from a different direction. He'll stand on a high wall and he'll see from up high what I'm doing in the wagon or what I'm doing on the boat. But the guy who's in the store, we could say, he'll close the door of the store, so he could stand on the high mountains, he won't see nothing, and he'll do whatever he wants. Kamash Malan comes to teach us, no, he's not going to do what he wants, because he's always afraid that the Yid will come in at any moment. Is Shalsid. This machloikis that we had, what is the time frame that he's away, that to say that the yayin was touched? So the Tanakhama said the time frame is to drill a hole in the cover, plug it, and dry. And Shimon Gamil says no, to break off the whole cover, replace the whole cover until it dries. So he says that machloikis is by Shalsid. The Chacham hold that maybe he punched a hole, and seed is the same color right at the beginning. You don't have to wait till it dries. So you cannot tell between the new and the old. And Rabbi Shimon Gamel says, by the seed, sometimes you could tell, and therefore the guy is afraid. And only if there's enough time that there's a long time till he replaces the cover, only then it will become asa. But what's if it's clay? According to everybody, the wine won't become asa till he's there for a longer time. Kedei sheyiftach, the time that it takes to open up the barrel, v'yagav, and replace the cover, v'sigev, and it dries up. Because when you're dealing with clay, in order to come back to the color, that it should look like the color of the rest of the cover, because the clay is a different color, it takes a long time. So then, if you're using clay, we have to go, everybody agrees you go according to the longest shear. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamil said to the Chachamim, why are you concerned that the guy will punch a hole in the cover? If he punches a hole, the Yid will right away recognize what happened here. That there was a plug in this hole. He'll see there's a plug. On the top, he'll see it's a different color. And on the bottom, when you plug the hole, right, it's not even. When you plug a hole, so on the bottom you can't see because the cover is sealed. Here, you plug a hole, right? So here it's sealed. So you don't know what's going on. You put in the plug, but if the owner opens the plug, it opens the cover, you'll see, hey, it was tampered with because it's not smooth. I'll know right away. What? Right. Says the Gemara. So why would the Chachamim be concerned that he'll punch a hole? If you say you're talking about plaster, clay, machlekes. This is what it means. Then it makes sense what the Rabbi Gamil said to Chachamim. Because on the top you could tell, even though he's smoothing it out, it's a different color. The clay is a different color than the rest of the cover. And on the bottom, of course, we know it's not smooth. Aliyah shall see machlokes, but if you're going to say the machlokes was by seed, like we just concluded, so it doesn't make sense. I understand the bottom of the cover is not smooth. The yid will recognize if he opens the cover that the guy tampered with it. But if you're using seed, the seed at the beginning, the color is the same. By lime plaster is the exact same color right at the beginning. You don't have to wait till it dries.
With the cap.
What?
The cap.
We're talking about the cap. He punched a hole in the cap and he plugged it with seed. The seed that was lechatchila the same color. So if it's teat, if he's using clay, that takes time. You have to wait till it dries, till it becomes the same color. But seed, well, how could you say Milo? You could recognize that it's different. You can't. The Gemara Shimon ben Gamliel says, "Who the lo yod ma'kamer habana?" The Chacham Be'emes said it's talking that Shimon Gamliel didn't know what the Rabbanim meant. What was the kavanah of the Rabbanim? Ha'chi kamalahu. This is what Rabban Gamliel said to the Chachamim. If you're saying your psak or your shear is by tit, then shitume nikar beimalamayla beimalamata. Then you can recognize the yid, the owner will recognize side from the top. If you're using clay, it's a different color. And side from the bottom, the plug on the bottom is sticking out, so you know it was tampered with. And if he's using lime plaster, which is the exact same color right at the beginning, even though on the top you can't recognize it, but on the bottom you could recognize because the plug is not smooth. He couldn't smoothen it out. It was sealed. He plugs the hole, so he didn't open it to smoothen the bottom. So he opens up. He'll see right away. Hey, it was tampered.
It's like leaking.
Not, okay. No leaking. Okay, but Avoda and the Avoda. So even the Lamaila Yadiya, since the Lamaila you can't recognize when you use seed. So the Chacham say we have to worry because the yid won't go and start opening up a barrel to test it. Why should if the top looks good? Why should I open it up? And so therefore they said it's usher, even though it looks good on the top, but even though on the bottom it's not smooth, but the yid is not going to open up heavy barrel. That's why it's also even that's the shear that it takes to punch a hole and to seal it. If he was out that span of time, we have to be chesed. He did tamper with it if he was out for that long of a time.
So how much time is that?
Let's say that's 3 minutes. To change it's really more. Let's say it's 2 hours, and if you say it's to change a cover, that's a full day. So he says no. The Chacham say even that small span of time, we have to worry about it.
Because he's
not going to open up the barrel. Inami and the zimnim the cholim. Sometimes the guy knows exactly the thickness of the cover, and he makes a plug exactly that size. So even on the bottom, you won't be able to recognize. Even when he opens it, you won't be able to see that it's not even with the rest of the cover, because the guy's a professional. He put in a plug according to the exact width, so he can get away with it. Okay, yeah. Amar Rabbi said the halacha Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. The halacha is like Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, and he says Hoyel Tanan Stomach Havasei. Since we learned in the Mishnah, Stam Mishnah like Rabbi Gamliel,
So what's it in?
that we have to wait for a longer time. That the time that it takes to take off the whole cover and replace the cover until it dries. Also, that's the. Where do we see that? It's not that we learned in the Mishnah. That's it. It gives a longer time, yes. It's none that we learned in the Mishnah. Where do we see Stam Mishnah like him? He was sitting on the table with the guy. And he left login al hashulchan. He left a jug of wine on the table. Or login al dulbiki. And he left also bottles of wine on the dulbiki. Dulbiki is like the bar or the pantry. And the Yid went out, left the Yid left the guy alone. And he went out. So Mashal HaShulchan also. Whatever's on the table, that is also. Mashal HaDuliki Mutter. Because the guy doesn't have the chutzpah to go to the side table. That's not what he gave him permission for. If he told him, become comfortable, dilute the wine with water with shais and drink, even those bottles that are in the bar is going to be also. Chavius psuches, those open barrels in the house are going to be asuris because he's comfortable. Let's say he goes into his bedroom and he goes and he finds. So the open ones are asur, but stumis mutaris. We're not chishing that he's going to go open the stumis. Today sheyiftach the yogov v'sigoy. It means that only if he was out for how long? The time that sheyiftach to open the whole barrel, the yogov, and to replace the cover, the sigoy and the shadraya. That's a Shimon Gamliel. So you see, that's the Stam Mishnah, because the Mishnah ends off with that. Says you want a pshita, it's a pashta zara. That the halach is like Shimon Gamliel because it's a Stam Mishnah. Says you want to know Mal the Tema Kulur Shimon Gamliel Katanila. I don't know. Stam Mishnah means that it wasn't said by Shimon Gamliel, that the Mishnah said it's Stam without a name. But maybe this all right. But over here, maybe all this was said by Rabbi Shimon Gamliel till the end.
So we don't know if it's.
I don't know if it's a Stam Mishnah. Maybe it's all Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. It's not a Stam Mishnah.
We don't know if the Allah is like it.
Right.
But nobody else says anything else.
No, so he says it is a Stam Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Katanila. I would have thought that all the way till the end of the Mishnah was all Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Kamashma, no, it wasn't that way. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel only said the words about the Shulchan. Right? We learned only about the Shulchan, but about the Shia at the bottom, it wasn't Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. That was the Mishnah itself. It was a Stam Mishnah.
Which of the Shir?
The Sefer, this whole Sefer of the Mishnah was not Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. The whole story with the Shulchan.
What did he say?
No, that we have from before. This last part of the Mishnah was not mentioned by any Tana. Those words were not said by Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Was said by the Stam Mishnah.
Yeah, okay.
All the other three cases where we had machlekes, those were
We had originally 4 cases. Right?
4. But the 4th case is the one that was a Stam. Was not said by Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Sagt die Gemara, "V'chimei ach," the kind of long Kabbalah said Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Since the halach is like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, that we're not the loy chaysh l'shituma. We're not chaysh that he's going to punch a hole in the cover, right? We're not chaysh because he says you're going to recognize right away. Okay, and Hilchsa Kabbalah say the Rabbi Lezer, the loy chaysh l'ziyufa, and the halach is like Rabbi Lezer. We're not chaysh that a guy will break the seal. We're not chaysh because it's hard to replace the seal around the cover. Today, why don't we allow wine in the hands of goyim? You don't have to worry that he's going to open the barrel, because a goy is not according to Rabbi Lezer, a goy won't break the seal because it's very hard to replace the seal without zeal, without recognizing the seal. Here we're talking about there was a small hole lechatchila in the chavis to air out the wine. So they had a little hole.
People do that.
We were chesed. Maybe the guy went and stuck a straw in it to drink from it.